with the festival has gotten it on first try. And
Wow,
as
that's a
a
sign.
journalist,
That
I've
makes.
had to coach and
Did
pronounce
you
that,
tell them what it means?
and they still get it wrong.
I'm gonna ask you guys what it means and all that stuff in the interview so that we
Okay.
have some content to like.
So I'm just going to count you guys down. We're recording right now. When I say one, then Magnolia Polaris, you do a clap on camera, and then you guys can go right into your interview. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back, everyone, to Free Shipping, our third consecutive fundraising festival. Be sure to check out shipping.com for more info on our up-and-coming events, as well as some fly merchandise. That is ship-ing.com. Joining us today are some of the people behind Baitulmaal, a charitable organization aiding the humanitarian crisis around the world. And we're going to be talking specifically about Yemen today. So welcome, John, Janie, and Elizabeth Sohail.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much.
Did I pronounce Janie right? Is that Janie or Janie?
It's Janny, like Danny.
Janie, there you go. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and feel free to introduce yourselves, tell us what you guys do within the organization and what you're all about.
I'll let you go first, John.
Okay, that's fine. As you said, John Janney. I'm the communications director at Baitulmaal, and I'm in charge of making sure that we communicate our mission to our donors and all the potential donors and other stakeholders who might be interested in learning about us, engaging with us, or helping us with our mission.
Wonderful. And Elizabeth.
And I am the program manager here, so I'm in charge of all of our work that we do everywhere. And I like to just simplify it by saying I spend the money. And I'm responsible for substantiating the money and making sure that it's spent efficiently and transparently. So that's the main job and everything that goes along with that.
Yeah, which is super important. And just to give people some background info, I'm looking at your numbers, and your numbers are incredible. It says here you've provided 2,098,817 meals it's meals provided by Baitulmaal, donors to those struggling with food insecurity and hunger. It's 192,515 people who now have access to healthcare thanks to y'all. And also 19,760 people who have access to clean drinking water thanks to Baitulmaal donor-funded water projects.
Yeah, those are pretty recent numbers too, within the last few years, because we're all a new team since 2018. And for example, for the meals, we started way back in what year again? 2003, I think.
Yeah, something like 2003, 2004.
Yeah, so yeah, that's just a drop in the bucket. Oh, thank God.
So those numbers are just within the last couple of years or so.
Yeah.
We're in the process of updating them because I think the meal number has significantly increased. And
this year alone so far is around 1.5 million meals.
That's incredible.
So that number's going to increase by that much.
Higher than what we see here, which is great for the organization. Now, tell us a little bit more about like day-to-day situations that you come across within the organization that you'd like to share with us.
We do pretty much sustainable programs around the clock, monthly recurring programs day to day. In Pakistan, we have food distributions that we do in remote villages in the Sindh Desert. We do anything basically that the village needs. Right. We provide a water well there. We provide the means for education if we need a school built, or we just need to staff it and run the school. We help out with building a water well that might serve one village or multiple. We do that on a daily basis. We support some schools and orphanages around the world daily. We have some in Kenya and Somalia that we support, for example. We have some medical clinics and hospitals that we support ongoing in Palestine, in Somalia, for example. Those are the day-to-day routine kind of programs that we do. But we also do, of course, emergency aid. whenever that comes up. Then that includes more routine programs in the countries that are experiencing the displacement and the refugee situations and the war crisis zones like Yemen. So those are a little more periodic than just, the weather emergencies, of course. And then, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Feel free to.
Yeah, so those are like day-to-day kind of things. And over here in the US as well, we are doing periodically, since COVID-19 crisis struck, food distributions in California, Chicago, Detroit, New York, and Texas, for example. So those are
here in California. Was it Anaheim?
yes, some were done in Anaheim. Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. And John, feel free to let us know as well what you do on a day-to-day with the organization.
Well, it's a little bit less exciting than what Elizabeth has to deal with, but it's still very rewarding because we get to, in the small team that we have in the communications department, we get to engage with people who really have a passion for what we do. We get to take the information that Elizabeth gets for us and basically translate that for the general public and as well as for our donors. I mean, for example, she mentioned healthcare that we've done. We did a mission not too long ago in Yemen. I don't know how you want to call it. It's a clinic. It was a healthcare clinic, but because the situation in Yemen doesn't really lend us to like setting up a whole permanent clinic, it was a healthcare mission. Some doctors, we teamed up with some doctors to go to, I think was it Aden, I believe?
Yeah, camps outside of Aden, yeah.
Yeah, just outside, yeah, some camps there where there were some displaced Yemenis. And I think the doctors there saw around close to about 1,000 Yemenis.
Yeah, I think it was just a little over 800, yeah.
And they were able to dispense medications that otherwise they would have no way of getting.
I think they don't have the resources that they need.
And the healthcare system in Yemen has been pretty much demolished. I mean, I'm sure there's still some function.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like literally hospitals bombed. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So that aid really came at a good time. It came to help people who desperately needed it. And we're looking forward to doing more such missions in the future.
Now, what are some of the challenges that you all face on site when you get there, and how do you integrate and communicate with the civilians of Yemen? How does that happen?
Well, we definitely have had to make our connections on ground and network. There are a lot of big umbrella type organizations, which they call humanitarian forums, that have actually gone in and done the long range study of what projects are going to be the most beneficial for everyone there and the beneficial way of facilitating them. So we try to cooperate there wherever we need to. We have local partners on the ground as well, grassroots organizations, you can say. It's not the same as they operate over here, but there are some small ones over there that are trying to help those bigger umbrella organizations get into the harder to reach areas. So we make those kind of connections. There's a lot of, because there's no really, governmental structure, not a proper one.
My question and my concern, I was wondering, I'm like, how did they find a way to get to these places and provide these people with resources when everything seems so destroyed?
Right. I think I would credit it to those grassroots organizations and the partners that have been like us established there for quite a while working together, and the teamwork really makes it happen. That's the only thing we can do. Otherwise, everybody would be spinning their wheels trying to get, authorization and meet the criteria and avoid the war zones and things like that. So I would accredit it to that, the teamwork.
It quite literally takes a village of people
exactly
to help
to get into the villages. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
now with COVID-19 causing immense global concern, have you seen donation aid increase or decrease in
Yes, luckily, people have really, I think people that are in places where we tend to take for granted how much we have and how entitled we are,
right?
we can just go on Instacart and order from 50 different, choices of cereal or duck,
Right.
interesting gourmet ingredients. And that to see that disparity between what they have, for example, in Yemen and what we have available, people I think have really stepped up because they've kind of taken into account how easy everything was for us before this happened
Right.
and taken a look at it. And we've been really lucky. We've been really blessed that the donors have shown a big interest in Yemen where there's so much need. So we're able to kind of step up on our side to fill that need more and in a better way. So we've been really lucky. And we're doing some COVID relief programs there.
I saw actually on the website that you started a fund for COVID relief as well, right?
Yes. So we'll be doing basic hygiene supplies or cleaning supplies. We'll be doing some educational sessions about COVID-19 and hygiene. They'll have, pamphlets for everyone, and we'll be providing, clean water in those areas for that time period too, just for that program.
That's incredible. And now the people there, are they at all aware of the global epidemic, or are they in tune with things that are happening worldwide, or are they a little bit more kind of, I mean, I know we're living in the age of social media and
Instant technology,
right.
Instant communication. Yeah, we
Are
really have to get out there and educate them because we're talking about people that are, some of them are living in like makeshift tents.
right.
They're already sharing water, kind of in unsanitary ways, or when it's available, or they have to travel for it. So that's why we think it's really important to do these type of projects so that we can maybe help contain the spread in those areas.
Yeah. And has it
what?
been prevalent at all within Yemen? Do you know if it's COVID-19?
I haven't looked at the numbers. I don't know if you have, John, like how many cases or anything. That's something
I
I
don't
need
know.
to do.
Yeah, it's probably very preliminary. It's very difficult to get numbers from conflicts, especially ones that
When
are
there's no testing too.
stated
That's
as Yemen.
coming.
Yeah, but one thing I would like to add is that in addition to COVID-19 coming to Yemen, Yemen's been dealing with cholera epidemic for years.
Wow.
Absolutely devastating to the population. So the clean water it's also good, of course, washing hands and just having that. But in addition to just being able to drink clean water and not get sick from just wanting to drink, incredibly important in Yemen.
And that just shows all of us like a very real situation of how we kind of take so much for granted here in the US in these very protected environments. It really shows you the difference of how people are dealing with real life issues that are life threatening daily.
Yes,
So that's
exactly.
incredible. And that actually leads me to my next question. Because of how severe the pandemic has been, has the organization teamed up with any other organizations that have served as backup?
Around the world? Yes, we do have some partners that we work with where maybe, for example, where we don't have an office established, that are also doing those programs with us. But for COVID-19, the majority has been so far where we've reached for that type of project. Pakistan, a little bit in Palestine. Palestine is one of the biggest areas where we provide clean water regularly. We have about 300 large water tanks that get refilled weekly, and each one of those serves, between 4 to 6 families. So that's also incorporated into our COVID-19 process, I guess you can say, just part of that. And then in the U.S. And Yemen, those are the major areas. I haven't really incorporated that into East Africa, or we've done a little bit in Syria, but those are the main areas right now. There are a lot of areas, though, that we need to reach out to and step it up.
And at what point or after which instance did you all realize Yemen was in desperate need of aid? Like, at what point did it get to a place where y'all were like, okay, we need to take care of our people in Yemen?
I think John might want to share the story about our friend Carson, maybe, and how that kind of started a really big, it just kind of showed us how important the need was of communicating it to people. If he wants to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. But to answer the question in terms of when Baitulmaal was at least first started, I think it was early on, actually, in the conflict.
Yeah.
When the administrators realized that this was something that is really impacting people. People are being displaced. And one of the things that we have to understand when people become displaced in the conflict zone, their whole life is turned upside down. Everything that they have, they don't anymore. They have no money, they have no furniture, they have no home. When we, before Carson, which we'll talk about in a minute, came to us, we had people going into the field in Yemen and bringing back video and photos of people living in, like Elizabeth said, they were basically tents. There were branches with sheets thrown over them. This was their homes. And they were just like us. I mean, they lived in proper brick homes, you know, and just normal houses that you would see. And all of a sudden they went from that almost overnight to living in these kind of conditions. But one of the photos that really stuck out with to me that this person brought back, one of our field guys brought back, was a photo of this lady. She's got all these kids around her and there's all this paper everywhere. And I looked at that and I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. What are they doing? So I, sent the guy a message and saying, what's going on here? I mean, what are they reading? What are they doing? And the guy wrote back and said, this is school.
Wow.
I remember that picture. A
Yeah.
dirt floor and a tent, yeah.
Dirt floor in a tent, and this lady is sitting with about 4 or 5 or 6 kids around her, all of them having their own little stack of paper, and she's giving class.
Wow.
And to me, that just told me so much about the spirit of the people in Yemen, about how even though their world is completely turned upside down, even though they have nothing, like literally all of their possessions are gone, they held on to the hope for the future. They haven't given up.
Right.
And for me, that spoke to me as like, well, you know what? Neither am I. And neither should we, because they are seeing a future, even among an incredible crisis, the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, according to a lot of UN observers, the worst in the entire world. And yet they're still teaching their kids, giving them an education, teaching them their language skills, their math skills, and their history, so that they can have a future. And to me, that was incredible. That was an incredible photograph to see. Right.
And I'm sure there are many more instances like that with people going through very difficult times. And so for y'all, how do you continue to stay active within it? How, like, run me through something that you would like to share with all of us that are watching today.
In terms of remaining
in terms of like of what you do and how you stay afloat in the organization and how you stay active.
We've been very blessed, and Elizabeth kind of touched on something that kind of demonstrates how, or some of the things that kind of keep motivated, and that is when we were approached by a cyclist named Carson Caldwell. So he basically, his family was moving from the East Coast to the West Coast, and he had always dreamed of doing a cross-country cycling. But he's one of these individuals who has a really huge heart. So he thought, well, I'm not just going to ride my bike across the country. I want to do something good with it. So he literally went to Google and said, you know, in what countries are people starving? And it's Yemen, just all the stuff in Yemen came up. And as he dug in further, he stumbled across the New York Times article, Yemen, How to Help. And listed among a short list of charities who are highly rated charities doing work in Yemen. So he checked us out, and along with the other ones, and just like you mentioned early in the interview, that our numbers are pretty strong when it comes to the amount of funds going to programs. So he called us up, and it was kind of strange at first because we're thinking, okay, he wants to ride a bike across the U.S. He wants to raise awareness for Yemen. This kind of novel idea, that sounds kind of fun. Yeah. So after a while of going back and forth and doing a lot of planning, we engaged in about a 3 or 4 month campaign. Wow. Where he rode his bicycle from, I think, Pennsylvania all the way to California, to the area. Yeah, and it was an amazing journey to see him interact with people. We actually met up with him. We're in Dallas, so we met up with him when he passed through Oklahoma City.
I was about to ask y'all where you were based because
we're based in DFW, and so we drove up as a group, and some of us and met him in Oklahoma City, and he stopped at a community center, and everyone was very interested in hearing his story, and he shared with everybody, what he had learned about what's going on in Yemen, and you could tell that he had a tremendous amount of passion for this cause. And so that, things like that really motivate us. We had a guy he was a model, and if I remember correctly, Elizabeth, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Kourtney Kardashian's boyfriend. I forgot his name.
Yes, Kourtney.
Yeah,
and I forgot his name too.
What is his name?
I don't remember.
I feel bad because I'm not really my pop culture.
Mr. Kourtney Kardashian.
Yeah, well, it's
I don't know.
That we're on that is that
that's bad. I need to know his name.
That causes like this really need the help of media to get out there and to get the message out to all the people who don't know what's happening on a global, worldwide level.
Yes.
So I actually was going to ask y'all, how, can we learn more and stay updated about Baitulmaal and what y'all are doing over in
Yemen? We have an email newsletter, and forgive me if I'm looking off camera, but I'm trying to find I feel so bad about not knowing but I have it right here. Yunus Benjima, I think. Yunus Benjima. So he's a model, and he has a fashion line, and he actually sold T-shirts to raise money and donated it to charities such as Baitulmaal.
That's incredible.
That was and then the music festival came to us and said we would like to benefit. So we keep getting approached by all these people with huge hearts and a lot of care and love for people, across the world. And that what better motivation can you have?
Right. I was going to say that basically answers my question. Like that's really what keeps y'all motivated and keeps y'all.
Absolutely.
Yes, it keeps turning that wheel, because the more opportunities we get like this, then the more opportunities we get to do more for the beneficiaries. So.
And but to answer your question about people who are interested in learning more or being updated, we do have an email newsletter. We do send updates. We send updates when we get them, and we don't have a newsletter like some people might subscribe to a newsletter and it's like, okay, every week I'm going to send you something.
Right.
Our newsletter isn't really designed that way. We literally will not send you something unless we have something to either share with you in terms of an update, or if we have a special campaign that we're asking people to donate towards. Those are usually the only time. We don't have it set to where we're just going to bombard you every day or every week or what. We're very.
A lot of people have like apprehensions about doing what is it called? Like
Subscriptions.
subscriptions, right?
Yeah.
Because they feel like, are they going to send me stuff all the time? But it's good to know
Yeah.
that you're only going to contact the people when you feel the need
Mhm.
to let them know that y'all need.
Yeah, we're very respectful about people's time, and for them to share the email address with us is a pretty personal and important thing. So we have to respect that and make sure that if we do send them something, then we're sharing something of value, something that is important enough to populate their inbox with yet one more email.
Genuine communication.
Exactly. And we also have, if anyone responds back to an email, it actually will go to a person.
Beautiful. That's
You'll
great.
see the no reply email address. Like we don't believe in that.
That's good.
So if we send an email newsletter out and you respond to it, we will get it and we will respond back.
That's incredible. And that's going to be BAITULMAAL.org, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
For social media, what are the handles for people that are interested?
For most of them, it's Baitulmaal. It's on Instagram. It's Baitulmaal_USA.
Baitulmaal USA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Those are the three main channels.
Incredible.
We recently got a TikTok account, but we're still watching that.
You got a TikTok account?
Of course.
That's
we got all the accounts. So.
That's incredible, because I think also people sometimes need like visuals. I feel like we live in a day and age where like we really need some sort of visual representation of whatever is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way to educate people than through photos and through video.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
now that everything is so surreal.
Right.
Getting to see that video really helps.
We need to see what's actually real.
Yeah, as we're all locked in, we're just craving any kind of audio visual.
That's how we stay afloat, the general audience.
Anything that moves faster than my wall, I'm so happy to see.
Exactly.
That's right. I'm so grateful for y'all. You have shared so much incredible information with us. And I wanted to ask y'all where the name comes from, because that's such an interesting name to have for an organization.
So Baitulmaal goes back in history. Baitulmaal is a faith-based organization. It's run by Muslim Americans. And in the Islamic history, Baitulmaal was essentially set up as, I guess the literal translation could be like a treasury or a house of funds that was set up for charitable disbursements. So it would be the place where funds were collected and then dispersed for charitable programs.
That's incredible. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share with us for people that are watching that are definitely interested?
I just want to thank you for having us, for this interview and making Baitulmaal the beneficiary of the music festival. It's an honor. It motivates us. Like I said before, it really motivates us. And we hope
it motivates me. I mean, it's incredible that y'all are joining us and that we're doing this with y'all. I was super impressed when I saw that we were joining forces and doing this.
Well, if people want to help, the best way to help is to, of course, donate, because the more money that we get for these different causes, whatever they want to be, whether it's Yemen or water access or whatever they want, the more money we're able to get, then that will translate into actual tangible relief and assistance for people who are at no fault of their own and having very difficult times.
Yeah.
So that's first and foremost. And second, if they share, they share the information, they share encourage their friends to donate, that actually has a big effect. Recently, when the Yemen crisis really kind of spread very quickly on social media last month, people would donate and then they would take a screenshot of the email receipt they would get from us.
Okay.
Would post that in their Instagram stories and tag us. And we saw it over and over again. And I would just say, don't just tag us, tag all your friends and encourage them to donate.
Right.
Yeah.
Every small amount helps.
every small amount helps. It's because I mean, when you're looking at what dollars translate here versus there, we are able actually to do a lot. I think what was it like 42.38 or something like that for a whole hygiene kit, which includes
For a family.
per
That's
family.
that. Yeah, that's the hygiene kit. That's the educational sessions. That's the water. Everything all wrapped up in
30
one.
30-day supply of water, education sessions, not just the material, but also the sessions, as well as a kit that has hygiene supplies in it, so that the whole family can practice good hygiene during these times. All just for like $43. And over here, I mean, you get a month supply of water for that. It's not that easy. And over there, we are able to really leverage economies of scale, as well as other factors, and generosity across the board for our partners to really maximize our donors the funds that they trust us with. So if they the more they give, whether it's $5, $10, or 500 or whatever, it all makes a huge impact.
Yeah, and we try to make it the biggest impact that we can. That's part of my job, or that is my job. And for example, we'll be sending several containers of medical supplies to Yemen. Probably they're scheduled right now to go in September. And it's going to have, for what the donor donates and the amount of money that we put into the program, the value of the deliverable is just so much greater than that. It's it's a really, really good program, and I hope that people want. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not a return on investment in a business, but it's your investments returned on the people that are receiving the aid. So that goes to more people, and it's more things that the hospitals need. So
investing in life.
Yeah, in life.
We're investing in life. We're investing in hope.
That's right.
What we're investing is compassion.
Compassion.
But the mechanism of that compassion is the funds that then turn into aid.
And compassion right now is needed on such a huge scale globally, I feel like. So it's incredible that y'all are doing this and putting this together and are some of the forces behind it all. And I actually had a question, Elizabeth, about the kits. You mentioned something about kits. Can you walk us through?
These particular kits are going to be cleaning supplies and what they need. Like, for example, we had a really hard time getting, Clorox wipes, Lysol. I still cannot find Lysol kind of anywhere.
Right.
And hand sanitizer. So just imagine over there, these are things that they don't even normally have the need for where they're living in their camps, or see the need for these type of cleaning supplies. So we're providing some basic sanitation and cleaning supplies for their families. That's what those kits are. In some cases, when we do hygiene kits for other projects or just for emergency aid, we will also include things like toiletries, toothbrushes, toothpaste, shampoos, soap, things like that that's difficult for them to get. Also, we've done kits for cholera treatment in the past, and specifically.
You mentioned about the high rates of cholera there. How are they receiving, or are they receiving treatment if they do have it, and how does this kind of impact the population there?
The majority is set up as clinics. Basically, they have to go out to the camps and set up there in order to reach everyone. And that will involve bringing doctors from outside, like from the US.
Okay.
Like in our case, that was just general medical, but it's the same for treating the cholera. And they'll set up specific areas where they're only doing for cholera. And they will actually have people kind of isolated that they're treating for that. And they'll treat their families as well, so that can help kind of stop the spread.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of mobile for the most part.
Yeah.
Just because of the situation, you never know, like when there's going to be fighting breaking out in a certain area, and you've got to get out quick and try to get back in. So everything is kind of mobile.
Has that
or
affected
majority.
anyone within your organization, like within like fightings or bombings or whatever?
We had, when we did the medical mission, we had some fighting that was going on after we were wrapping up the mission in the same area that we had been in. Luckily, we haven't personally experienced any losses, but I do know of people that I work with that have, due to bombing and shootings and things like that. And I do have a friend that I work with in the industry that has friends that have suffered death over there, and hospitals that have been blown up, and they know people in the hospitals.
Now, speaking of the industry, how did y'all become involved with Baitulmaal? How did it all start your journey for you?
Personally,
Yeah, both of y'all
so
separately and personally.
yeah, I have always in the past, at least maybe 20 years, just worked in like nonprofit. And that's how I got recruited. I was also brought in kind of just to,
With the festival has gotten it on first try. And
wow,
I'm
that's
a
a sign.
journalist.
That
I've
makes-
had to coach and pronounce.
Did you tell them what it means?
And they still get it wrong.
I'm gonna ask you guys what it means and all that stuff in the interview so that we
Okay.
have some content to like.
So I'm just going to count you guys down. We're recording right now. When I say 1,